Everything all right?
Yes, I just given them some gloves.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's freezing out here today.
It's horribly bad. Yeah, my wife comes by and tries to get food for the cats and stuff.
This used to be where the homeless would reside until it got cleared out. And
Yep. I had there just collect them when I lost them. Those are barrels. I tried them on. But so she comes every day and takes care of and feeds the cats a little bit.
did they clear this out just to try to?
I think they did.
Yeah, because they did it on the other side too.
Yep.
But
they've come back. He's sleeping under a little tarp back there, and they all go under with him. Like I said, he's 82-year-old Vietnam vet.
82?
82 Vietnam vet. He was on the boat cruise over there. His name's Dallas. There, but my wife has always been doing this around Destin, cleaning. Or
my wife, we were actually talking about it. We don't know if there's a homeless shelter anywhere near here.
I don't either.
So when they cleared it out, I was like, well, where do they go?
We were concerned.
This is what happens when the trash can gets too full. You end up with this mess right here. But could be worse problems, right?
Babe, look at the freaking teeth.
Get the hell out of the water now. I don't Come on.
Oh my. Babe, it's too dangerous. Don't be doing that. Babe, let him. Sorry.
But guys, I gotta tell you, I don't get it. I don't get it. I will tell you, I didn't want to, but I had to. Finally, I had to put on the Patagonia because today it is just a little bit too cold. But could be worse problems, right? For instance, the weather. Albeit some folks don't like Florida weather, mainly because they'll complain that it's too hot. But then others will complain when it gets too cold. So yeah, good luck trying to win that battle. But we got a list of problems here with Florida. Problems, issues, matters, however you want to describe it. We'll just run down the list. Latest breaking, trending. But I'm going to tell you quite possibly the biggest one that is about to hit, if not actually already in some parts. But we got multiple people shot at Best Buy in South Florida. Suspects still at large. The return of falling iguanas. Why Florida might have raining reptiles tonight. Near record warmth coming to Central Florida after frigid into weekend. Again, you can't win for losing when it comes for the weather. Squatter pirates in Florida setting up homes on abandoned boats. Never thought that I would read that one. And apparently is not a crime if you're a Florida Republican chairman, but he's been since cleared of all sexual assault charges. And more RVs appearing in Martin County parks as cost of living rises. A 60-foot deep sinkhole opens in front of a Florida home, and Duke Energy is experiencing large outages in Tampa Bay just hours ago. And the Florida Senate unanimously passes a comprehensive health plan, comprehensive in quotations. But yeah, so there's that. Oh yeah, and this too. A lack of certain people, myself included, who would choose not to engage in these activities of messing around with these dangerous animals. It's crazy. I honestly, sometimes I don't get it, because it's like people would go to Florida and pay good money for a fishing charter to essentially hunt these types of animals, aquatic creatures, complain about the risk that they pose inherently on Florida beaches, only getting worse, yet at the same time engage in some extremely dangerous activities of trying to return this beast back to its home, for which quite possibly will be less than grateful and will probably kill you in the process. All the while, honey, this is too dangerous, you shouldn't do that, after he's already tried and you're standing there recording it for social media. Got to get those likes, got to get those clicks, right, folks? Oh man, sometimes I wonder about the future, the fate of humanity. But I also wonder about the potential plan that they have in place for population, or at least a reduction of population and depopulation, which that's a deep, 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 dark hole that we're going down if you want to go down that route. But we're not going to do it today. But I will say that in situations like these, they have nothing to worry about, because there will be portions, percentages, certain pockets of the human population and society that will essentially just take care of it on their own, if you understand what I'm saying. But I digress. Don't mean to get too distracted here, but I do have some news that I want to share with you. A story. This story actually came out of Canada that got me thinking, because it's not just Canada. It's not just in any one particular place. The key here is that when we see a problem, remember, identify the problem, but there's no need to harp on the problem. We need to focus on the solution. Well, in addition to that, when you notice and see and identify and spot a problem, like this coping I told you got blown off this roof, this building, that's a problem. But where does that problem lead? Obviously, I explained in another video where that problem will take you as a building owner, as a homeowner, or a property manager, or whatever, doesn't matter, investor. And this is part of why we have such challenges now when it comes to insurance, homeowners insurance and property insurance and casualty insurance, because they too identify these problems, whether it be people like myself, not me, I'm not hired by an insurance company to do that, but people in general who work for these companies, who go around and assess these potential risks and deficiencies that need to be repaired, so that the insurance companies aren't on the hook to replace a roof that you didn't maintain. But also they're using drones to do some of this surveying and investigation and documenting. But regardless, if we have a problem and it's your problem, then we need to find a solution. We need to focus on a solution. If we have a problem and theoretically it's everybody's problem, then we also need to be paying attention to what happens next. And that problem that we have, because it's not that we had it, that problem has begun to get worse, much, much worse over time. And that problem we have is when it comes to housing costs, affordable housing, rent prices, inventory, supply and demand, all these things that are impacting people, producing headlines like we just covered earlier of pirate boat squatters and RV, an influx of more RVs in campgrounds, which that's only going to increase the cost of the campground fees, limit the availability, and further exacerbate that problem to a point of which it's no longer an affordable or viable option, or at least, at the very least, it is, but it's not necessarily what it used to be. For instance, Walmart said that it's attracting a more higher end customer, or higher income earning customer, which pushes the lower income earning customer out, as Walmart attracts the higher income earning customer and then will raise prices for everybody, and the value or the savings or the discount or the budget opportunity that was once there is no longer. It's gone. You got this guy over here. He parked his Hyundai and then he went in. It says no trespassing, keep out. It says no trespassing, keep out. But he went in there anyway. I don't know what he's doing back there. Maybe he's looking for somebody. This used to be where the homeless would reside until it got cleared out. And or maybe this is his property. He is talking to somebody.
I got scared to select them when I lost them. Apparently, I tried to hunt.
From out of state. Yeah, I don't know what this guy's doing. He's talking to somebody. He is talking to somebody. Yeah, there's somebody in there. I don't know how he knew that there was somebody in there. Maybe he's just trying to help him. It's really cold out here. I mean, it's not like crazy cold. I don't have gloves on or anything, but it's definitely cold for Florida. Oh, okay. He said he gave him a pair of waterproof something. Maybe this guy knows him and he's just trying to help him. Maybe he comes over here regularly. Maybe he comes over here regularly.
I don't blame you. I gotta get back for it.
Yeah, he having a conversation like he knows him. Everything all right?
Yeah, I just giving them some gloves.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's freezing out here today.
It's horribly bad. Yeah, my wife comes by and tries to get food for the cats and stuff. And we saw him this morning just with socks on, so we went and got.
Oh, y'all visiting?
Oh no, we live here, but so she comes every day and takes care of and feeds the cats a little bit.
Did they clear this out just to try to?
I think they did.
Yeah, because they did it on the other side too.
Yep, they had a whole bunch of them in there, but this guy's got like 15 cats.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
little cats, but he won't leave them because they're his babies.
Yeah, I noticed them maybe yesterday, the day before, like more than maybe they scattered when they cleared and now they came back a little bit, but
they've come back. He's sleeping under a little tarp back there, and they all go under with him, so they're very friendly. I mean, they're not like wild feral cats.
Yeah.
And there's some beautiful ones in there, but my wife has always been doing this around Destin, cleaning or fixing cats and feeding them.
Gotcha.
So
do you know, because my wife, we were actually talking about it, we don't know if there's a homeless shelter anywhere near here.
I don't either.
So when they cleared it out, I was like, well, where do they go?
Well, we were concerned with that, and also where the cats would go. And him, like I said, he's 82-year-old Vietnam vet.
82
Vietnam vet. He was on the boat cruise over there. His name's Dallas. And so he goes back and forth to like Kmart, and he buys his little stuff. And so this morning we brought him hot water because all the water bowls were iced over for the cats, so they couldn't drink.
Yeah.
He was thrilled to death. I was like, shove that thing under your jacket.
But he cares more about the cats than.
Absolutely.
We went to they had a dog adoption yesterday at the pet supply. But I don't know if they do anything for cats. I don't know.
They've not as much. There's a group over in I think it's called Saving with Souls or Saving Souls, something like that. But they do cats and dogs and all that kind of stuff, and they're really good. My wife used to be part of Feline Friends of Destin.
Okay.
And so they'd trap and neuter and release. So they'd adopt out kittens, and then they'd snip the other ones. And if they had so she's still feeding stuff that she's been doing for 15 years.
Man, they got a lot planned. My wife, she checks the Facebook Destin group,
right,
of everything that they have, and this is not part of their.
I think this is just somebody who was here, wanted the encampment, because when she first came over, someone told her about the cats. I was like, you can't go in there. I'm going to go in there with a gun. I don't know what these guys are going to be like.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
But we met him and some other guy over here one morning, and they were just nice as could be. But the thing was, all the cats were running around their feet.
Oh, yeah.
So you knew they weren't harming or doing anything bad. And then they clear cut. So I think all the other guys have left, and he's the only one who stayed, because just take care of his cats. He gets a modest Social Security thing and spends it on his food and their food.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
Yep. Yeah, I've lived here for 30-something years, and I'm not sure.
The tag looks different, but I guess that you have a custom tag.
It's one of those Florida Panthers.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where's my wife and the cats?
Oh man. Well, all good. I walk around and I saw you in there. I was just making sure you were okay, because ever since they cleared it out, nobody's been over here. So
yeah, he's tucked under there. She's, like I said, she saw him this morning, so we went through the closets to try and find some gloves to give him.
Yeah.
Well, have a good one.
Take it easy. Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. It was if he wasn't in there for homeless, then he might be in there for the cats, because there's a lot of cats in there now. But sidetracked. Sorry about that. And this is life, folks. This is life. But like I said, when we have a problem, what I want to do is not focus on the problem. I want to understand, identify the problem, and focus on the possible solutions and where the problem is going to go, and ultimately how much worse the problem is going to get. These are the warning signs. These are the key indicators of what to expect, of what's to come, so that when it does happen, you're not blindsided or like, I didn't know. But also, this is very, very important for homeowners, tenants, renters, snowbirds, anybody who has any tie to real estate in any way, shape, or form, which would essentially be everybody who's housed. Anyone who's unhoused, homeless, obviously not necessarily going to impact you, but it will too, because with development and building and construction, it will displace and eliminate possible areas, just like we just saw, where folks could go to seek shelter, or at least not covered shelter, but where they can reside and be out of sight. Sad situation, sad story for sure. But what I really want to talk about and really want to focus on is this problem that we're having with Airbnbs. So this story came out of Canada, and it was a zoning issue.
Now to one of the province's strategies to create more housing. BC's new laws on short-term rentals are less than 4 months away from taking effect. And that's triggered a wave of owners trying to offload their investments, largely without success.
And it was actually a bait and switch. It's really messed up what it is, how they're treating these people. And essentially, going back on what was said, putting these people into a very, very, very messed up financial situation. Somebody's probably gonna want that key. But they're putting these folks in a financial bind, okay? And it's terrible. And much like jobs, much like companies, corporations, they don't care about you. Same deal. They don't care.
The owners of this micro loft in downtown Victoria are a couple who bought it as a retirement investment to rent out short term and to stay in when visiting grandkids in Victoria. They say the new laws coming into force in May have thrown them for a financial, emotional loop.
I feel the rug was pulled from under my feet. I was given short notice.
Roughly 90% of the units here are rented out short term. It's one of 23 buildings in Victoria where zoning exemptions allow short-term rentals. Zoning that those who bought here paid more for.
Now, granted, they pretend like this is a good thing. And it's a challenge, because much like with content creation and how I have to remind myself and remind others that I work with that you're never going to make the best video. No one's ever going to unanimously like you. You're never going to please everybody. It's just not possible. So as long as you know that, then you're already a leg up ahead of the competition. Look, we've gone over this, and the negativity that exists out there, and so much of it unnecessarily being sent and directed towards creators, it's unreal. But regardless, the fact of the matter remains is that we do have a housing crisis. We have a housing affordability crisis, depending on you and where you live and your income and other various factors that go into, your ability to afford a house. It's like, now granted, we did watch House Hunters the other day, yesterday maybe, and a couple, they had 3 rental properties and they were looking to buy their first primary residence. And they said that the mortgage broker or lender, whatever, was laughing at them because they had 3 investment properties and they didn't own their own home, which I think is a little ridiculous. They seem pretty savvy, financially savvy, and depending on your take and your thoughts and your opinions on Grant Cardone, he would consider them to be doing the right thing. He doesn't believe that personal home ownership is synonymous with building wealth. To each their own. But regardless, they said that they were in Missouri, I believe, and that they were looking to keep it under $200,000 or $230,000 for something really, really nice. And I'm like, holy crap. I wish that were the case. Now, granted, the real estate market they were in is drastically different than here in Florida or back in Georgia or other major, cities and states that people really want to, it's got huge, high demand. But now, for most of these areas, you're looking at 500 at the very least. Really, 500 is going to barely get you in the door. So you're looking at 600,000-700,000 up to $1 million for theoretically a decent home, and then decent neighborhood too, maybe. And then if you're in places like California, then you're going to be over $1 million. I mean, you're going to be over $1 million. So part of this stemmed from the challenges that were created during the pandemic. Pandemic put everybody into a craze and a frenzy with all that money and low interest rates and wide eyes and profit-seeking investor opportunity. Got a class B plus. I think it's a B plus is what they call it. Doing some stealth parking here, maybe. And so what we saw was people buying up anything and everything that they could for obvious reasons. But that has put us in the place that we are today, where there are more than likely, don't quote me on this, more investors that own property that is vacant, that they don't live in, for the sole purpose of capitalizing on the revenue and income and profit, potential profit possibility through short-term rentals like Airbnb, VRBO, Vacasa, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And I was actually going to share some data with you from AIRBNB, but apparently they don't want you sharing their data. So we're just going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to just have a conversation. But like I said, this was brought to my attention. I knew about it, but I saw the story that got these folks in a bind up in Canada just yesterday.
The premium that people paid for this Airbnb zoning, the short-term rental zoning, it's disappeared. And that was about, I would say about 15 to 20% of the property value.
And so now I'm looking at it like, okay, if this happened, remember, identify the problem, focus on the solution, as well as identify the problem and understand where does it go from here. Because it's like, all right, we're going to use this as another example. If you guys can see that coping is coming off on this roof too. Okay, that coping, it's like a Florida problem. Florida's got a lot of crappy coping. Okay, they need to get some better sheet metal contractors down here. Okay, it doesn't look like it had a cleat either. Yeah, so if you look in there, oh yeah, okay, there's a cleat. There's a cleat. Might be a damn 24 gauge cleat, but whatever. Anyway, that's a problem. Okay, so then it's like, all right, where does that problem go? Okay, well, that is probably a $500 repair. But if you don't fix it, then it's going to be a much bigger and much more costly repair. It could potentially cause major damages and then ultimately put the business in a position of being inoperable because you let it get out of hand. You didn't address it and solve that problem when it was a smaller problem. You ignored it, and now you got a bigger problem, and you're sitting there scratching your head like, oh man, what do I do now? So when I look at this Airbnb situation, I'm looking at it as, okay, well, if these laws are being put into action. These bills, these proposals are being ratified and becoming law.
As of May 1st, those exemptions will be gone. The new rules will also essentially restrict short-term rentals in urban centers to owners' primary residences.
All right, where? Okay, we know New York City. Well, for one, if we want to focus on U.S. and not just Canada, although we have to realize that there are many similarities between us and Canada. It happened in New York, and it'll happen here in more states. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look and see what other states have already had this, where essentially basically what it boils down to is if you want to legally operate a short-term rental through Airbnb or any website like that, then you have to be the owner and operator, and it has to be your primary residence. Therefore, if you want to go on vacation somewhere and offer your house up for, the time that you're gone, so be it. But they're curbing and limiting the ability for people to own multiple properties that remain vacant while driving up the cost of living, as others are struggling out there to find available properties, and if they do, anything that they can afford. So for me, I'm looking at it like, well, that Florida is a hot spot for vacation rental property. So if the laws haven't made it here yet, then what I want to do is make sure that I'm not going to be left stuck holding the bag when they do.
The pending changes have triggered a wave of owners wanting to offload their investments, but the units are too small for most looking for long-term living, says this realtor.
Probably close to 10 listings there, and nothing has sold since June.
Because maybe Florida's not next. Odds are Florida's not next because the political landscape here is completely different than New York, okay? But more than likely, blue states will probably be the first to, unleash this new law against rental properties before anybody else. So this is going to give you a heads up and a warning and an indicator to pay attention. And so what the folks in Canada, the problem that they're facing right now is that they have these properties that are worthless. They're literally almost worthless, okay? And I'm going to explain to you why that is the case. Some people will say, all real estate will sell. It's just a matter of time. And then, location. Well, they're in a bad location, okay? And granted, yeah, it'll sell, but the price is going to be the determining factor on when it sells. And that price is going to determine on whether or not folks make money or lose their ass. Or if the price is too low and they can't afford to take the hit, then they'll just have to keep it and subsidize some way, or possibly find themselves in a situation of foreclosure or short sale. Who knows? It's not looking good, folks. But what happened was they bought into these properties with this zoning that allowed them to offer short-term rental and have an opportunity at creating some some income, some profits, some passive income through this real estate investment. And then they changed the zoning. So now these properties, like they're saying, they're worthless because they're no longer zoned for the upside that they had originally been designed for and advertised and marketed as. And the price that they paid, the premium that they paid for this, makes the property far too expensive for what it is now that you can't use it for its intended purpose. Not to mention the increased competition and saturation of volume from all the units that are listed for sale that haven't even been, none of them have sold, and the last recorded sale is June. That's almost 8 months, 7 or 8 months ago. So this lady right here, I don't know where she's coming from, but she works this corner, and she's not like, she ain't like that, but she works this corner, and she's coming over, and she's gonna put up her sign and ask for money. But either way, struggle is real, folks. So basically what it boils down to is these properties, in my opinion, are worthless because they're only going to be attractive to people who would want to live in them full time, and they weren't built technically really to be lived in full time. Part of why we have such a struggle sometimes trying to, compromise on condo life, condo living, is because the condos aren't built or weren't built for people to really live in. They were vacation properties. So, the closets are extremely small. The bathrooms are nice, but they're not great sized bathrooms in comparison to, a standard home or even the apartment that we have rented and leased. So these condos up in Canada are the same way. So it's ideal for a single person, possibly a single bachelor, single male, single man, single female, single woman, whatever. A single person is going to be more likely to be interested in these, but the price is too high. And then that single person has to want to live in it full time because, they can't really rent it out. Now, granted, they could rent it out if they're their primary, if it's their primary residence, but it just creates this challenge, this rub, and it's just not conducive to profitability. So you got, and then with all this competition in the building, they have like 10 units for sale so far. They're going to have more. And that's just going to further give the buyer more negotiating power, driving down the sale price for the seller. And I'm not going to walk through here. I don't want to pick up any of those hitchhikers. Those things hurt. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Nancy Payne runs a short-term rental management business. She had 60 clients. Most own just one property. She now has 2 clients and is closing her business come May.
Consider these as small businesses where people paid their license fee, they paid their taxes, they did their research to buy these properties as a small business.
And therefore, when I read articles like these, it says Airbnb reveals new panel to address housing affordability crisis, which I'm not going to read that right now. I'll get into that later. Airbnb is going to, actually, I'll read you guys the first 2 paragraphs. It says, with rentals in cities and towns across the U.S., Airbnb has had a front row seat to the nation's housing affordability crisis. Now the company says it wants to help solve it. Driving the news, Airbnb announced Wednesday the formation of a new housing council of experts chaired by Stephanie Rawlins Blake, former mayor of Baltimore and former president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Why it matters is the council will advise Airbnb on how it can throw its weight behind initiatives that work to increase America's housing supply and drive down prices. So this is a clear warning and indication that there's going to be extreme conflict and turmoil amongst in between Airbnb, lawmakers, politicians, homeowners, investors, the National Realtor Association, these different committees, homeowners, renters, that in theory should produce a far more reasonably affordable position of home ownership. But like I said, you can't please everybody. And if that happens, then these investors, these landlords, some of these hedge funds, these big companies that have these properties, they're going to either lose their ass big time, which would then have another reverberating impact on the economy in some way, shape, or form. Or develop some form of coalition or scheme or plan or strategy to roll up these properties and find a loophole in the system to continue offering them, but at these extremely high prices for short-term stay.
But housing advocates say the state of the housing crisis justifies lost investments.
In this case, the government has prioritized those core needs, arguably the rights that people should have to obtain safe and secure housing, at the loss of investors. And in our opinion, that's a move that has to be made.
So basically, you want to be in the know, but if you got a property that you're thinking about unloading, quite possibly because you've already seen the writing on the wall and have had a drastic decline in tenancy, your vacancy is up, you're not putting heads in the beds, then, or you've overextended yourself, you've over leveraged yourself in these properties to get into the Airbnb game, and you're in a state that hasn't seen new laws imposed yet that prohibit you and limit you from actually using that property for its intended invested purpose, then I'm looking at this as a clear, flashing red light. Get out now, before it's too late, before all hell breaks loose, and you find yourself in a position similar to these folks up in Canada, with these properties that they can't rent and they can't sell. So that's just my take on it. That's my take on it. And I'm probably going to keep an eye on this for a while just to see where we go with Airbnb and short-term rentals.
The province issued a statement today noting, "We're already seeing reports of former short-term rentals coming back to the long-term housing market, including both listings of former short-term rentals as furnished long-term rental homes and short-term rental units that have been listed for sale since the province passed the legislation." So far, at least, most of those new listings aren't getting snapped up.
And real estate in general, I told you guys about us renewing our lease, and it was to be expected. And the amount of vacancies in our complex, and my thoughts and opinions about the next year, 2, 3, maybe 4. And I don't think that prices are really gonna come down like drastically. Interest rates probably, but interest rates are probably going to come down. Prices probably going to dip a little bit, but the overall cost is still high, and that cost is going to include this homeowner's insurance situation that is a bear and an absolute game changer, where some folks are paying $1,000 or more a month in homeowners insurance. And, you know, again, the challenge with us deciding to live in a condo is the forever uncertainty of exposure and risk and cost of ownership through HOA and assessments, which we are not interested in taking part of with a blank checkbook that we're handing over to this condo. So even with a home, now you're like, all right, well, I got a decent interest rate, I got a decent price on the house, but now my insurance is kicking my butt. And every 12 months, I'm either getting a crazy high spike in renewal policy premium increase, or I'm getting a notification of non-renewal. And if there was need to file a claim for catastrophic loss, then you already know now you're gonna get dropped. So it just continues to make the problem just worse and worse and worse. So, you know, at that point, your best possible solution would be to buy a home, a single family home, not a condo, theoretically not in a HOA, where you can buy the home, the property, know where you stand, pay cash, not have a loan on it, and self-insure, but know that the inherent risk lies in the fact that if there's a massive catastrophic loss, then you're paying for it 100% out of your own pocket, which would then put the areas that are least likely to experience these devastating natural disasters into a tornado-like spiral of increasing prices, because people understand the value of these locations. Not to mention, really, I don't even know if that exists, because you can have crazy weather anywhere these days, and I'll let you guys be the judge of how they're able to make that happen. So yeah, you know, it's a new challenge that is only going to get worse, and paying attention to what's happening around the country, but around the world, is what's going to provide. Look at that ice. We got a leak on that water valve, or I can't remember what they call that thing. Yeah, this is you know, around the world. So you could say, oh well, that's Canada, or that's New York, or that's Florida, or that's not. Yeah, look, it's coming. It's coming somehow, some way, shape, or form. For instance, it's like other changes that we know are in the works include this push to EV, this elimination of gas appliances. What else they got? Obviously the legislation with the Supreme Court and abortion, like all these things, they start on a local level, and then they expand to a state level, they expand to a country level, and then they expand worldwide, globally. You know, we saw a epidemic and a rapid escalation to a global world order that forced a travel ban and required arm ticket and face masks and all the other things, literally almost overnight. So let's not ignore the facts. This video is way longer than I expected it to be. I'm gonna end it now. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.
I can tell you my problems, meditating my silence, but I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus. Brokenness feeling like sin, now no breath, low dollar. Used to be left on red, now all the girls go holler. Now all the girls go follow. All the fake friends